In this conversation, we use physical markers to keep track of the conversation. They are printed on cardboard coasters. I got the idea from a professional stage magician. He said that people like having physical markers to hang ideas on. We start by noting the close connection between the amount of stuff we produce by industrial manufacturing, the associated environmental damage through extracting raw materials, and CO2 that aggravates global warming. It works like an equation. The more stuff, the more the associated environmental damage. Annie Leonard brilliantly explores this in her charming video, The Story of Stuff. We cover the same ground conversationally. Our focus question is, what makes the amount of CO2 go up? We can answer this by exploring what makes the amount of stuff go up, since the more stuff, the more CO2. They're closely coupled. The first answer most people give is advertising. We go on to talk about the World Trade Organization and free trade agreements that are designed to increase the amount of industrial production and therefore the amount of CO2 and other environmental damage. This is one aspect of the corporate control of governments. This system is set up to increase the wealth and power of the wealthy elites. As we well know, this is a system devoted to economic growth. Seeing clearly the connection between economic growth and disastrous environmental damage leads to a conclusion that is shocking to some and common sense to others. Economic growth and environmental sustainability are incompatible. Of course we need stuff, but consider these factors. We're in a pickle. Okay, let's look at psychological factors that drive increased CO2 emissions. Advertising doesn't make people buy stuff, and we're talking here about excess consumption. There are psychological factors. We have a word for it: retail therapy. Retail therapy is a symptom of inner malaise or lack of inner well-being. Some would say that is an indication of disconnection from nature, community, or God or spirit. Inner malaise also shows up as a compulsive desire for the appearance of high status. Someone once pointed out to me that people like stuff. True. It can seem cheap, attractive, so why not get it? People are ignorant of the full consequences of our individual and collective behavior. Ignorance is a major factor that drives global warming. Of course, increasing population and affluence amplify all of this. And we should mention industrial agriculture and deforestation. We have gone through this didactically, but this module is meant to be an exploratory conversation. We put labels on cardboard coasters. We start the conversation by laying out the ecological equation. We point out that the more stuff, the more associated environmental damage, including, of course, CO2. Then we ask, what factors in the way our society operates tend to increase the amount of CO2? They may say advertising, or perhaps consumerism, or retail therapy. Whatever they answer, we put down the marker appropriate to that idea. We add more markers as the conversation continues. At the end, we have a big picture map of the major drivers that increase CO2 emissions. Each one of them must be modified if we are to reverse human inputs to global warming. The good news is that we know in principle how to affect each of these drivers. People have been working on them for years. What is needed is thoughtful, passionate public will. Communicating to engage the unengaged is the key to success.